The Supreme Court of Kenya will tomorrow issue their verdict on the presidential petition by Raila Odinga and Martha Karua and others against IEBC and William Samoei Arap Ruto alongside Rigathi Gachagua. The outcome of that petition is two. The court will either uphold the election results and declare William Ruto as the validly elected President of the Republic of Kenya. Or the second option would be a nullification of those results, of which a rerun is going to be occasioned. In this video, I want to try and explain to you guys why personally I strongly believe that the Supreme Court will nullify the results. Before we do that, in case you're watching this channel for the first time, I want you to take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Now, let us get back to the main issue. At the beginning of the hearing, the Supreme Court issued 9 issues which they were going to consider while determining this case. Which means those 9 issues are what is going to determine whether the elections will be upheld or will be nullified. So I want us to try and go step by step on all those 9 issues so that you can understand why I strongly believe that the elections will be nullified. Let us begin with the first issue. The first issue was whether the technology deployed by IEBC for the conduct of 2022 general election met the standards of integrity, verifiability, security, transparency, and transparency to guarantee accurate and verifiable results. That was the first issue. For me, if you ask me, the petitioners did justice to this. And for me, if you ask me, the petitioners actually proved that the technology didn't meet the standards of integrity, verifiability, security, and transparency. You know, there was that small issue of Julie Soweto, Jose Camargo. Most people looked at it from the perspective of the form. That was not the issue. The issue was about the form itself. Because the IBC lawyer, Samane, had alleged that the Azimio team actually forged the documents which they submitted to courts. And they went further to prove that indeed those forms could be forged. So Julius Soweto came and rebutted that. But it was a bombshell. Of course, most people argue that the form was over, I mean, there was a document, there was an overlay, which could be true. But Senior Counsel Ngatia was on record that the form which Julius Soweto was presenting was actually fake. It didn't have security features, and therefore the court should not rely on it. But Julius Soweto never ended there. Julius Soweto went further, and the same form proved that indeed there was a serial number which was used on KMSKit to relay that particular form. Then when the IBC lawyer came, the Harvard-trained young lawyer came, he confessed that indeed the serial numbers were the same, but they used other identifiers. That was the issue. So the truth of the matter is that the technology which was used cannot meet international standards. Then IBC committed another grave mistake. They asked the Smartmatics to write a letter on why they didn't trust. I'm just trying to get that letter. Why they didn't trust. Why they could not grant access. And the letter is actually dated the 31st, addressed to Independent Commission, attention Hussein Marjan, on the provision of image of NTC server that hosts Form 34C, number 1, and it says, as per your request regarding the provision of image of NTC servers, we would like to clarify that such images contain software owned and copyrighted by Smartmatics and is thus IP protected. Providing full access would infringe our intellectual property rights. Further, providing third-party access to our source code and security features, including transmission certificates and inscription key, would render the service insecure as it is today for any future use in Kenya and anywhere else in the world. In addition to violation of our IP rights, this would also jeopardize elections in other countries that are using and have used our system. And remember, wherever Smartmatics have deployed their system, there has always been issues. So, in terms of technology, I think it will be nullified. And before we go into the second issue, please allow me to recommend for you solar system solutions that works in Kenya. It is provided by powerafricasolar.com. You can go to their website right away and get a quote. Power Africa Solar is actually preferred by majority of homeowners in the United States of America and in Europe. Unfortunately for us, they have an office in Mombasa, in Nairobi, and Kisumu. So please, if you require the best solar system solutions, contact powerafricasolar.com. You won't regret. You can even quote my name that I referred you and negotiate with them. Now, let us get to the second issue. The second issue is whether there was interference with uploading and transmission of Form 34As from the polling station to the IEBC portal. Now, this is where the scrutiny and the recount is coming up. And for those who followed the event, you must give it to IEBC. Their lawyers did well, and I think when it comes to the issue of uploading and transmission of Form 34A from polling station to IEBC servers, I don't think the court will nullify the elections on that. For that, the IEBC lawyer did a good job, and I don't think the bombshell by Julie Soweto will see the light of the day. Of course, there are certain instances where it will work, but in terms of issue number 2, I don't think it's going to serve the petitioners. It's going to actually work in favor of the IEBC. The Supreme Court might just recommend additional ways to ensure that in future the transmission of forms should be clear. Although, if you look at the way the forms were supposed to be transferred, what was on the agreement, it ought to have been posted in a colored form. So the Supreme Court will use their judgment, but I don't think that would be enough to nullify the elections. The number 3, the third issue, was whether there was a difference between Form 34A uploaded on the IBC public portal, and Form 34A received at the National Tallying Center, and Form 33A issued to the agents at the polling centers. For this, a retally was ordered, and there were no major discrepancies. That's the truth. There were no major discrepancies. And for me, I don't think this will succeed because the Azimio team didn't put a strong case. Why? Maybe because of the issue of the agents. What was required was that you have Form 34A from your agent, then you have Form 34A from the portal, and the one which was at the bombers. Then you compare. But in a case where you don't have Form 34A, it means even if these guys rigged the elections, then they were able to change them on Form 34A 2 of 2. And that's why the issue of Form 34A 2 of 2 came up. Then the fourth issue was whether the postponement of gubernatorial elections in Kakamega and Mombasa counties, parliamentary elections in Kitui Rural, Kacheliba, Rongai, Pokot South, and electoral wards in Nyaki West, Imenti, and Kwanjenga in Embakasi South resulted in voter suppression. So for me, the Azimio team didn't really prove. Although there's a link, if you look at the percentage, the turnout, if you looked at the questions which the judges were asking, there's clearly a link in terms of the percentage. But the Azimio team and the other petitioners were not able really to link and demonstrate that indeed the elections in Mombasa and those in Kakamega had direct impact. That's my own understanding. They didn't really prove that. So for me, I don't think they will have a way with that. Number 5, the third issue was whether there were unexplained discrepancies between votes cast for the presidential candidate and other elective positions. And of course, on this, the petitioners did a good job. They were able to prove that indeed there were discrepancies between votes cast for the president, the governors, the senators. They were able. So whether the Supreme Court will also be persuaded to rule in their favor, I'm not so sure. But indeed, the petitioners proved beyond any reasonable doubt, in my view, that there were unexplained discrepancies. What the IBC were explaining could not make sense. The 6th issue was whether the IBC carried out verification, tallying, and declaration of results in accordance with Article 138(3)(c) and 138(10) of the Constitution. If these elections will be nullified, it will be nullified on this account, issue number 6. That's for me. Why? It was clear that Wafula Chebukati did not involve other commissioners. And the fact that the other 4 commissioners then decided to, because I remember Philomena Mwilu at some point was like, if there was no delay, the country was going to be subjected to a split screen where the results at Bomas were being announced and the Serena was also going to go on. So basically there was an issue, and in their parting shot, you can remember the Supreme Court judges saying that for them, they're always equal, and whatever they decide as a team. And the issue of the powers of Wafula Chebukati came up, and the role of the chairman. I don't think that IBC will be able to defend the role Wafula Chebukati played. And if this election is going to be nullified, for me, it's going to be on the account of the petition, of this issue number 6. Let's get to issue number 7. Whether the declaration whether the declared president-elect attained 50% plus one of the votes on all the votes cast in accordance with Article 138(4) of the Constitution. You can recall that this issue was canvassed by Okiya Omtatah. His explanation was very clear. Otinda Molo also came for the petitioners. His explanation was flowing. IEBC could not explain so many things when it came to this. Okiya Omtatah and Tom Ojianda, in my view, asked the IBC very tough question on the issue of 508,000 ghost voters. And Willis Otieno also came with the issue of KPMG report as the only scientific report before the courts. And IBC and William Ruto's lawyers actually failed to prove that indeed he garnered 50% plus one. I remember Somane was unable. The presentation he made, Kenyans are actually making fun of it. How the turnout kept on changing. So the truth of the matter is that I think, again, in case they will decide to throw away all Raila Odinga's petition, this one for Omtatah is going to go through. So the eighth issue was whether there were irregularities and illegalities of such magnitude as to affect the final results of the presidential elections. Now, this is where the Julius Soweto is coming in. The issues of Wafula Chebukati announcing results. So this issue will consolidate. It will be the general feelings of the Supreme Court judges. And lastly, what reliefs and orders can the court make? I said it's only two, either uphold or nullify. For me, it's going to be a nullification. I don't know what you think. That's my take. Thank you, and may you have a good day. Bye-bye.